Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. And I return to you once more as the voice of the Vasectomites. Let me be the first one to welcome you today to the newly minted Vasectomy Life. Here in the Vasectomy Life, we promote only the highest level of self-care, self-preservation, self-belief, self-control, and above all, only the purest version of self-determination. This is the Vasectomy Life, where your problems are not our problems and your concerns have nothing to do with me. Here at the Vasectomy Life, we are minding our own business to the ultimate extreme and make selfishness seem like an overrated understatement. At the Vasectomy Life, we never have to wonder what's in it for me, because that's what it's all about. Me, me, me. And as a proud vasectomite, it is my undying pleasure to join you today and for as many days as I can in self-illuminating the way, so that you too, should you so choose, can join us and become a vasectomite yourself. Unlike the bachelor life that is limited by definitions and meaning, all men are welcome and invited to join the vasectomites and live the vasectomy life. Bachelors, divorcees, knee benders alike, and those that returned from legal matrimony and the dark dimension. I'm talking about the Bachelor 2.0. Let us all join together, not just as nationalities, races, ethnicities, cultures, or even as a gender, but let us unite as a species behind one common cause and one uniting common goal. Let us say nay to surprise pregnancies. We say nay to late periods and surprise conversations. We say nay to those bundle of joys. I say the nay to the gifts from God. I say nay to the blessings from the universe, and never let the hand of divine intervention move beyond and above my life. I say nay to actions and outcome that come in mysterious way. I say the nay. Here at the Vasectomy Life, we employ every man to embrace the true meaning of change and undergo a genuine metamorphosis. and take by grasping for themselves the verifiable and unstoppable evolution of the vasectomy. Only through the power of the vasectomy can you yield true freedom and emancipate yourself from the chains of relationships, commitment, the weight of obligation, and the strife of responsibility. Only the vasectomy can bring you true deliverance from the damnation of legal matrimony and the dark dimension. Only the vasectomy can bring you safely into the radiance, luminance, and abundance of your salvation. I say to you, no more diaper changes, no more folding towels, no more lullabies, and no more bedtime stories. No more Santa Claus costumes, no Spider-Man suits with the pot belly out, and absolutely no, I mean absolutely no, to pink transparent tutus. We, the vasectomites, we stand up and we say nay. Nay to the vile, diminished, disrespected, unvalued, and unappreciated ways of the knee benders. We reject benderism as a philosophy, ideology, and belief system. And depending on the circumstances, we reject brunch at unreasonable times and unreasonable prices. We reject chore play. We reject quality time away from our hobbies. And we reject, above all, paying those bills. We say no to father and son days, no to dads and lads. We say no to the happy spouse and the happy house. And we don't care. We don't care if it takes a town, a village, or the entire nation. We say no. We say down with morning texts, down with good night texts, down with check-in texts, down with texting for no reason, down with the DMs. We vasectomites will not become the step parent. We will not become the step boyfriend. We refuse to be the positive male role model. We refuse to be a positive example of any kind. And we will not make a lasting impression by being a positive influence. My influence does not have to be positive. It doesn't have to be felt. I don't care who your son looks up to or how much he wants to be like a man. Let me welcome you now to the Vasectomy Life, to true freedom, true choice, true power. The Vasectomy Life, where quite frankly, there's just no going back. Join us. Unify with us, brethren. Become a vasectomite. Speak to your urologist today and visit a fertility clinic near you. Freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. I say freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy, and you too can reap the rewards and take the benefits of the power of the vasectomy for yourself. And these are very simply outlined: a better you, a better life, and a brighter future. Welcome to the Vasectomy Life. Anyway, after that passionate speech, I had to really catch my breath and slow down for a moment. I had nothing left to give after that. I understand why people will make such short videos when they throw their heart and soul into like 10 minutes, right? It could really take it out of you. But since we are talking about the positives of a vasectomy, I brought out today's edification, the pros and cons of a vasectomy, right? I thought it wouldn't be, a balanced approach to just look at the pros alone, right, and ignore some of the downside. It wouldn't really be what I do. So I brought out both. Today's article is by Dr. Michael Reed. I think this comes straight from his website, drmichaelreed.com. Read or read? I think it's read, right? And there is the link to the article itself, should you wish to go and see it for yourself, but we will read it here together. Making a decision on whether to have a vasectomy is a deeply personal one. It can be, or you could just look at the facts and follow those. And there are certainly many pros and cons to consider. Many pros, not so many cons, right? But the cons can be quite serious, right? So they might be worth having a look at. It says vasectomy is a permanent, thank God, form of birth control for men. Yes. Blocking the passage of sperm when a man, how do we say this? When a man reaches the top of the mountain. When a man reaches the top of the mountain, fluids from his lowers enter the sperm via the vas deferens tube, right? So when you reach the top of the mountain, things happen and you fire off. The vasectomy procedure involves exposing the vas deferens tube using no scalpel. I think there was a scalpel for mine. Keyhole technique. The tube is severed, then sealed so that sperm cannot enter the fluids. As sperm adds very little to the volume and appearance of fluid, men can expect no obvious change to their mountaintops, right? When you reach the top and you let it out. Let's continue. The only difference is that fluids will eventually be sperm free, and so the risk of pregnancy is avoided. So yes, I have to always read strong words with euphemism, even the words that aren't too bad, right? Even the words that aren't like explicit or anything. I'm not taking any chances, right? I'll admit I've been banned off many platforms for not using appropriate language, so I'm not taking that risk. But also, there's a possibility that a child might hear this information. And looking at the statistics, most of you benders and counterparts have children anyway, walking around in the background that might or might not hear things. So I will be using euphemisms as long as I'm allowed on the platform. The minute, I mean the express minute, I find out that I've somehow been demonetized for towing the line, it'll be freedom of expression. It'll be true freedom of expression, right? But until then, I feel very comfortable expressing myself in this ways. So, the pros of a vasectomy, let's have a look at them. Number one, top of the list, my favorite reason of all time. my favorite reason of all time. And it's the one thing that I think about, when I think about the vasectomy. And that's the one thing that I'm grateful for every time I look at myself in the mirror and realize, hey, you're a vasectomite. It is no more children. I'm going to say that again. Let that sink into you. No more children. Now I know there's some of you that are going to look at your children right now and think, oh, the ancient one is attacking children. I'm not attacking children. I'm not attacking children. No, 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 no. I always say, I'm always on the side of children. I always stay on the side of children. And I say, whatever child support you're paying, you got to pay for that child. I never ever said you shouldn't pay no child support. I said you should pay more child support. Right? You got kids, you got to make sure those kids are not only healthy, happy, they are comfortable. You got to pay more. Right? What I'm talking about is children that don't exist. People that haven't been born yet. Right? That may or may not be. We don't know. Right? We don't know. I'm saying make sure. If you freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. If you want a child, go ahead and have one. Right? There you got the sperm frozen. 100 million, 500 million. I have a billion sperm. Right? So no accidents. That's all I'm saying. Right? I'm not attacking your children that are alive. I'm sure they are wonderful. And I'm sure you love them. And you do everything for them as well you should. You're doing the right thing. You're doing a good job raising those kids. But in case you have 3 or 2 or 1 or none, and you don't want more, they say more. Perhaps, in my opinion, I think absolutely you may want to consider a vasectomy. Right? Dr. Reed says, when the decision is made not to father more children, a vasectomy is the most effective way for a man to prevent pregnancy in a female partner. Dr. Reed nails this point, man. He hits it right out of the park. Vasectomy, the most effective. Not just effective, the most effective. You're not going to get a better system than this. This is why I stand here, because it's the best. It's the best. Ultimately, it's the best. You're not going to get better than this, right? And number 2, it's a minor procedure with low risk of complication. Now, you see, this is what I'm about. I'm all about the low risk of complication. I don't mind taking risks. People say that calculating people are risk averse. This is not true. You weigh the risk and then the risk of complications. And with a counterpart, what is the risk? What is the chance of a complication should you not get a vasectomy? I like that word, complications. It implies medical complications, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. What is the risk of complications should you get a counterpart inseminated and pregnant? What is the risk of those complications, right? Because a vasectomy is just a minor procedure and the risk of complications are very, very low. I like that. Often performed in a practice-based operating environment under local anesthesia or intravenous pain relief, the procedure can be carried out in as little as 30 minutes, half an hour, in and out, same day. You don't have to spend the night, right? This is what it's all about. This is what it's all about. In and out. In and out, right? The open-ended, no scalpel vasectomy is considered to have a lower risk of complications compared to other vasectomy techniques. It is also far less invasive than the female equivalent of hysterectomy, right? So yes, of course, we have a evolutionary advantage, right, in this particular area, believe it or not, men have an evolutionary advantage in this particular area. You can evolve with very little complications. And many of us are due an upgrade in our reproductive evolution. And this is it. You freeze your sperm, you get a vasectomy, and that's it. 30 minutes in and out, no scalpel, right? So I believe there are various techniques, but they're all effective. That's what you need to understand, right? And maybe I'll do an article in the future. Well, not maybe. I'm definitely going to read an article in the future about the different types of vasectomies that you can have, right? Because I think many men think it's just one, like you just get in, get the vasectomy, and get out. Yes, it's that simple, but there are several different types. Of course, I'm not an expert in this. I'm just a strong advocate, right, for the philosophy. But in terms of having a discussion, a meaningful discussion, there's no reason for us not to analyze any information that comes our way. But yes, vasectomy, minor procedure, no or zero or low complications. Our next positive pro is quick recovery. Number 3. Men are advised to lie down on the day of the procedure and make the following day an easy one. However, most men can return to their normal occupations within a couple of days. Vigorous sporting activities can generally be resumed within 5 days. This is quite ambitious, and I think this is a best case scenario. I gave myself 2 weeks. Yes, I'll be honest with you. I felt pretty good within 10 days. I think on like the 8th or ninth day, I felt pretty good. I felt a little bit awkward, but I felt really good. I think it was really 2 weeks in where I felt 110% in every way, right? Where really the difference was completely gone, right? So, but I wouldn't be doing any vigorous sporting activity within 5 days. I know if you're really into your sports and exercise, that might be a huge sacrifice, and effectively you're gonna feel like you're starting over, but better than causing complications, right? Better than causing swelling or that kind of thing, right? So yes, quick recovery. So quick process, quick recovery, which is what you really want, right? Number 4, no more condoms. Now, this is a very good thing. This is a very, very good thing. Now, there's some of you who might hear me say this and say, "Oh, but ancient one, condoms protect you from all kinds of things, not just pregnancy, but STDs, infections, and so forth." This is absolutely true. The problem is you're not using condoms. So if you were using condoms, and I don't mean like at the times when you're having an affair. So when you think you're having an affair, you'll use the condoms. But if you think you can trust someone, and I mean you think you can trust someone, then you probably won't. And the problem is that, you get so many things wrong, and you've gotten so many things wrong all throughout your life. So you believe that, choosing the correct intimate partner, that's something that you'll be able to do successfully in a serious way. I disagree. I know myself. I know that I would have absolutely chosen the wrong partner. I know I would have gotten that one wrong. I mean, based on just like, not just like my dating of pattern, but the things that I've completely gotten wrong. Simple things, right? Like miscalculate the number of teaspoons in my cup of coffee. And that's happened to you too. You think you're on 3 when you're actually on 4. You add one more, you find out you put in 5. Or you think you have 4, but you're actually on 2, and then you drink it, and it's like there's something's not right here. And you put in another teaspoon, and it's still not right. And you put in a 4th one, and now you have too much, right? So it's like, think of things like that. Like you get a cup of tea wrong, man. You think you're gonna get it right to pick the right person to have intimacy with? No way. So the fact that you don't have to use condoms anymore, right? Well, not that you don't have to use condoms, but if you don't use condoms, or rather, let me say, When you don't use condoms, there's no chance of insemination, which is better than having a condom and not using it at all. Dr. Reed writes, once a follow-up semen sample has been taken and the all clear given by the doctor, condoms are no longer required for contraception, only for contraception. Unprotected intimacy can then be enjoyed, he says, enjoyed without the risk and anxiety of accidental insemination, otherwise known as pregnancy. Now, this was my ultimate fear, just the pregnancy alone, but getting the wrong woman pregnant accidentally, that always caused anxiety in me. If there was ever a reason for not performing, it was that. Some people don't perform for many reasons, right? And some guys will sit there and wonder why, they're not able to perform. Me, it's always a very specific reason. The fear of success, right? So you fear being successful in intimacy, thereby getting a counterpart inseminated. Once you have your vasectomy, the fear is the complete opposite. So it's like now I fear not performing well because it's just a performance, right? It's just a performance. It's like it's theater, man. It's theater, right? So now I want to just put on a good performance for the theater. So but condoms failed you. Condoms failed you, and a vasectomy will not. Condoms where the condoms failed you, a vasectomy will not. Number 5, no pressure on a partner. You know, I suppose if you have a partner, this is an important reason. But if you don't, then no, it's really not that important at all what the partner's pressure is. But I can, if I have to force myself to show some empathy, fine, I'll show some empathy. So much empathy. Empathy is a lot of work. I can understand why a counterpart would be able to benefit from being with a person with a vasectomy, a vasectomite. However, it's just gonna cause problems. Because on the one hand, if the counterpart stops taking their own birth control, the chances are it means that they won't be in affairs and that kind of thing. However, or if they say they're not taking birth control, but they still are, then that means they're probably having an affair, right? Or something, but there's a deception going on there, right? But if the counterpart is not taking their own birth control and are relying on you to do it, that's a problem. That's a problem because that is like a direct reason, causation for a counterpart to become like super attached. Right? I mean, pregnancy is one, so if they think it's your baby, they may become attached, but for different reasons under different circumstances. In this particular case, she would be concerned that of infidelity. She'd be concerned that you would cheat on her, while she cannot cheat on you. And she'd be right. And she'd be 100% right. I got a vasectomy. What am I doing on here holding on to this one person? What sense does that make? What is the purpose of having a vasectomy if you're going to be in a relationship or a romance war with a counterpart who's not being intimate? Right? It's like no. There's no need for me to suffer through this. It says some men find themselves with a partner who cannot use certain forms of birth control. The effectiveness of non-permanent forms for women is dependent on many variables, and so pregnancy risk cannot be eliminated. They say it works 99% of the time if you use it accordingly. So whatever problems there may be with female birth control, it's human error. But the product itself is magnificent. It's truly, truly magnificent, right? It says vasectomy can relieve a partner of the responsibility of using birth control and hence protecting themselves against unwanted pregnancy. This is true to a limited extent, right? This is true to a limited extent. It can cause just as many problems, just as much delusion and anxiety, frustration, paranoia, that kind of thing. Right? Being with a vasectomite, I mean, women think they've had problems before. That's only because they've never been or dated a vasectomite. But date a vasectomite and you'll see. You'll see. You're going to see things you've never seen before. Right? You're going to feel things you've never felt before. And it's always better when you don't know he's had a vasectomy. When you find out years later, oh snap, it's a vasectomite. Because all along you think it's a bender. Right? All along you might think you're dealing with a bender and you're winning. Right? Because counterparts are always winning against benders. Oh, when you find out, and then you find out the circumstances and the consequences. The last person we read about, they had her on the hook for 7 years, 7 whole years. She's been trying to have babies for 4. So, and that just didn't come together for her. Because you know what? She's dealing with a vasectomite. Number 6 is better intimacy. It says here, many men claim that their intimacy lives improved after vasectomy because the risk of accidental intimacy no longer exists. There's 2 things that happen. On the one hand, your intimacy life just goes through the roof. And then on the other hand, you're just not interested in it. I mean, you're interested in it, but then you're not really interested in it. It's like the risk factor, the fear factor, as they say, once that is gone, the illusion is gone. You know what I mean? Like there's an illusion, a delusion even, where there's a delusion where men believe an illusion, where they view certain things they will look so magnified, right? So zoomed in, so focally focused on certain aspects of a counterpart, like they look at her eyes and completely miss every other aspect of her and just be drawn by her eyes. And that comes from a willingness to be drawn, right? And when you become a vasectomite, that willingness kind of goes away. You're not willing to be pulled in anymore, right? I mean, when you are, you are. When you're not, you're not, right? But so on the one hand, you might just be having the best, most amount of intimacy that you want. On the other hand, you just couldn't be bothered. You just really couldn't be bothered with dealing with these counterparts. And I've had both. And it's tough for some people to understand. Like, oh, you have the option of just going wild. It's like, yeah, or I could just take a nap. Right? I could go wild or I could just take a nap. What difference does it make to me? I'm just doing what is the most satisfying thing to me. Right? I could do both. I could take a nap and then go and continue. Right? And then go and continue. It says men should expect to have normal libido, salutes, standing ovations, you know what I mean? Rocket launches, you know what I'm saying? Then they can have explosions, right? Satisfaction. And then there are releases of liquids from the discharge is sperm free, right? But the discharge is sperm free. So in other words, your performance is the same, your game time is the same, but you don't have the capacity to score goals anymore, right? So it's like, well, you can score goals, right? That's not really a good explanation, right? It's not that you can't score goals. You can score goals, but the score doesn't count. I think that's a much better analogy, right? So you can score goals, but remember the score here does not count. This is why sometimes you're just not interested, right? Because the score doesn't really count. The numbers don't count, they're all made up anyway. Seven, vasectomy has a very high success rate. Yes, it does. As a form of contraception, vasectomy is the most effective option for male. It is important to remember, however, that active sperm can remain in the tube ahead of the cut of some time for some time, I beg your pardon, and that an alternate method of contraception must be used until a semen test is done and the all clear is given. This is a very long sentence. This is a very, very long sentence. I think he could have broke this apart 3 times, right? But effectively, what he's saying is once the magazine has been removed from the firearm, there might still be a round in the chamber or 2 rounds. So you gotta fire off a few more rounds into the air, into the ocean, away from people where there's no safety. I suggest doing this yourself, taking matters into your own hands, and then making sure that once the gun has no more rounds, right, then you can go ahead and put in the magazine with the blanks, and you can go ahead and shoot it off as many times as you want or as many times as you can. Let's continue. It is possible for a tube to fuse back together, allowing sperm to pass through, or one side may have more than one tube. However, this risk is 1 in 1,000. So, they're describing a miracle. Imagine this situation. After the cut, they fold, right? So after the cut, they burn. After they burn, they fold, right? And then the fold holds while the healing happens. Once it's healed, it's completely sealed, right? But it's not sealed, charred, or anything. It just grows back normally, rounds itself off, and just seals off naturally, right? There's not even a scar down there. So what they're saying is that under certain circumstances, the knot can get untied on both ends. Imagine that, right? Because it needs to get untied on both ends. Then it can be open on both ends. Then the sperm can come out of the one end, swim around, and get into the other end and come all the way through. I don't think, I mean, it happens 1 in 1,000, but it's very unlikely going to happen to you. This is why I suggest giving yourself a good clear 2 weeks before you do any funny business. Make sure you are healed properly. Make sure you are healed properly. Why rush into, why get a vasectomy and then go play basketball 5 days later? What benefit is the basketball going to be to you if you undo the vasectomy? Where if you just waited another week, you'd be 110%, right? What good is running 10Ks if all you're going to do is undo your vasectomy? So you got to make sure that you're 100% healed. So you are not Mr. 1 in 1,000. Can you imagine getting a vasectomy and then having a child after? Like when you haven't had a child all these years, can you imagine being number 1 in 1,000? Oh, that must be devastating. I'm gonna do one too where a guy gets a child after having a vasectomy. Oh, he must be gutted, right? I should definitely do one of those. Yeah, that's a very good topic. Number 8, reversible. I wouldn't go down this path. For me, reversible is null and void. Not just in terms of philosophy, like I wouldn't get a vasectomy to reverse it. Like it's just impractical, not just philosophical, it's impractical. But also it's very difficult, and the chances of succeeding are very, very low. So for me, it's completely out of the question. Like a vasectomy is like one of those things that's easy to get into. and hard to get out of. Like, you get a vasectomy, you're going under the knife with three specialists and you'll be in there for 18 hours trying to do the impossible, trying to reattach, and then the healing time, no way, I'm not doing that. Vasectomy is only 30 minutes in and out, man. It was very, like, it took me longer to freeze the sperm than to get the vasectomy. Because I was, I went to the extreme. I got a billion. Just, I froze a billion sperm as a point of reference, so that, should I come out with this message? I knew I was going to come out with this message. I just didn't know I was going to come out with this message, right? And here I am. But I got a billion sperm just as a point of reference to say, hey, I froze this many, which is enough to populate an entire continent worth of people. So, if you can freeze 10%, which is just going in once, I had to go in 8 to 10 times. I think it was 8 times. And they confirmed I'd hit my mark, right? But I was very fit and healthy, and I'd been drinking a lot of water for months, clearing out my system of anything. So, I was, firing on all cylinders when I did it. But, effectively, a reversal is just out of the question. It's just out of the question. That's why you want to freeze your sperm. That's why you want to freeze your sperm. You freeze your sperm, then you get the vasectomy, then you don't come back for the reversal, right? But a reversal, man, it's just not the thing to do. It says in some cases, a man may decide he wants more children after the vasectomy. Freeze your sperm. This is why I say freeze your sperm, because this 1 in 1 million, this could be you. You could be Mr. 1 in 1 million. Because a lot of guys who get a vasectomy have already had kids or been married with kids. But it's usually guys who've already had kids who don't want more kids. But if you haven't had any kids, man, that's going to eat you up. It's something like I say every day, I froze a billion sperm. Really, it gives me peace of mind. Really, it gives me peace of mind. I don't know if I would be able to, let go of everything altogether. And again, I think the fact that I froze my sperm is an indication that there may have been an element of regret, right? And the fact that I froze a billion of them is an indication that there may have been an element of a real regret. So I went the 2-step way. But some guys, they just go the 1-step freeze, and the cost of it is insignificant. It's like $50, man. So the cost of it is really insignificant. And now you want more children. You decided, I got money, vasectomy worked for me, I didn't have any accidents. Now I want a child, right? And even if you want one by surrogate, which some people might say, I want a child by surrogate, freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. All right, freeze your sperm. The procedure can often be reversed, however, should not be used to justify the procedure. Yes, I agree. A reversal should never be used to justify getting a vasectomy. Saying that it can be reversed is a bad idea. Really, it's a bad idea. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a believer in a vasectomy. 9% chance of success. 9% chance. When was the last time you were in the top 9% of anything in the world? I don't mean in your school or in your town. I mean anywhere in the world. You've never been. 9% chance of success. And it's unlike a vasectomy, which is an invasive procedure. This is a full-on theater operation, right? You go full, what's this? I just lost my words now, right? But anesthesia, you get full on anesthesia, right? Where you're out, and then you have to stay in the hospital for days being monitored, and then you go home for recovery, which is like 6 to 8 weeks of recovery. you're talking about 2 months of recovery with a 10% chance of success. I knew this going in, and then I froze my sperm. I was like, okay, reversal is completely out of the way, right? Out of the question, right? Out of the budget. That's also another thing. Like a vasectomy was $1,550, 1,550. Freezing my sperm an extra $50. Not a problem. Not a problem. And it's a once-off payment of $1,500, right? Once off payment. So I thought I can do that. I can do that one time, you know. Even if I need to recover from the cost, I can do that one time. But a reversal could be $100,000. I'm being serious. It could be. It could be. It's higher. It's higher than the cost of having a child. I mean, and it could go wrong. It could go wrong in so many different ways. Like it could fail, and then you try again, and then you just destroyed. Like it's just not worth it. I wouldn't go in there for that procedure down there. Not to mention blood loss, all kinds of things, all kinds of things. No, I wouldn't do that. I would just freeze my sperm. Freezing your sperm, so much fun. Oh, you're gonna have a great time. You're gonna have a great time. When you walk out of there and they look at you and they know you had fun by yourself, you know what I mean? You're like a little bit embarrassed, but you're also satisfied that you did a good job. You know what I mean? And I was able to knock out a billion sperm in front of those people. Well, not in front of them, but I was able to knock out a billion sperm in front of those people. Right? So yeah, I had a good time. I had a damn good time. Better than getting a reversal. Man, that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be really tough. But on the other side of the coin, once you become a vasectomite and join us, right? Whether you're a bachelor, whether you're a bender, whether you're married, divorced, right? You could get a vasectomy, a secret vasectomy from your wife. Oh, wouldn't that be glorious? Wouldn't that be glorious? Yeah, you should probably do that. And then she'll think all kinds of things. She'll wonder who you're seeing, where you're going, who you're talking to, what you're doing. She won't be able to stop thinking about that vasectomy. That's the truth. You get a vasectomy, you tell a woman about it. It will be the thing that distracts her from all other things. So, here are some cons, unfortunately. It doesn't fix every problem, so it's not going to make you rich inherently. But if you work hard with a vasectomy, I'm sure you'll be just fine. Number one, minor temporary side effects. It says normal symptoms during recovery from a vasectomy include swelling, bruising, and discomfort, but these complaints usually subside in a couple of days post procedure with the help of ice packs, rest, and pain relief. Now, just think about that. Ice packs, rest, and pain relief. That's what they recommend for a knee sprain. And I have to be honest with you, I had knee sprains and all kinds of sports injuries that were easily more painful than a vasectomy, right? So, I'm just talking about my experience. I had a fantastic vasectomy experience, right? Like with minimal pain, maximum recovery time. It's completely off the books. Nobody knows nothing about it, So I had a fantastic vasectomy experience. But these and many men say the same thing, right? Many men say the same thing, but if you go online you might find a few guys who had some complications, but those complications, like there was no going back. Like it's just a matter of just putting on some ice and getting some rest, drink some painkillers, and let the swelling go down. Stop doing vigorous activities. you know they say 5 days here, and these are the professionals, but I'm speaking as a person who went through it. In my experience, yes, 7 to 10 days you're feeling okay, right? So the painkillers have worked, right? The painkillers have worked, but To be 110%, I'd say it was after 2 weeks. To be fair, in about 10 days, I was moving around, right? I'd gone shopping and all kinds of things, but I was very careful. I was very careful around speed bumps and that kind of thing, you know. Just to be sure, right? Wouldn't want to come up here and call myself, vasectomite and bachelor supreme and whatnot, and then surprises, boom. By the way, you're not the bachelor supreme no more. We're having twins. Oh, that would ruin my life and my reputation. So yeah, vasectomy protects me from all that, but there may be some minor side effects. If they persist, speak to your urologist. It says change of mind post vasectomy. These people annoy me. These are the people who didn't listen when I said freeze your sperm. When I said freeze your sperm. Some men express reservations or regret, and the inability to father more children can negatively affect men's emotional health. One thing that I agree about this is that it changes your perspective. Really, it changes your perspective in terms of like you can really lose interest in intimacy. Like it could just be like you just wanna you'd rather go to the movies. You know what I mean? You'd rather go to the movies. That can be quite saddening for some men, right? And empowering for others, right? To not need this thing. I mean, you still need it, but you just don't need to get it right. There's a need for intimacy, and then there's the need to get it right. There's the need to be intimate with the right partner to avoid, problems. But when that need is gone, then the desire for liking someone and being liked someone really goes out the window. The only thing that is concerning is are they attractive and what type of experience do you have with them? Because if they're not attractive to you and you're not having a good experience with them, there's really no incentive for sticking around. For some people, this can make you seem narcissistic, which I am, but it can make you seem cold and distant, which I can also be. But what am I supposed to do? I got a vasectomy. I'm supposed to just care? You can't just turn that on. You can't just care. This is what people don't understand about being in this situation. I'm going to speak from the voice of a narcissist for a moment. You don't understand. You can care. You can reach deep within yourself. When I reach deep within myself, there's nothing. Do you understand? I can't get there and say, oh, here is empathy and sadness that I feel induced by your empathy and sadness. No. You can't turn that on. You know what I mean? You feel it. You know it's there. It's like a spark that turns into a flame within you. That spark doesn't come. And you can't just turn that spark on. You can, but we cannot. Right? If you can understand that, right? It's like the best feeling I can get is probably getting paid. That's about it. Getting paid. Yes, money in my bank account. All right, everyone, get back to work. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. All right. So yes, I don't know about trying to do this reversal thing, right? And this emotional health situation, really like I really couldn't understand. Like, do you now want to become a father? You went from not wanting to become a father so badly to getting a vasectomy, and now suddenly you regret it so deeply that you want to do it. You should have just frozen your sperm just to get this out. This is exactly why I froze my sperm. Just to get this nagging sensation out of my mind. Right? Just get it out, get rid of it. Because it's just going to annoy me for the rest of my life. But knowing that there's something there somewhere that I never have to deal with, every time I think, oh, but maybe what if there's no bed, maybe what if, right? Back to the emptiness, back to the void, right? Let's continue. It says, often this is as a result of complications. Um, where am I now? Yes, often this is a result of complications, insufficient discussions beforehand, the expectations that it will solve previous problems or will force into having the operation. So, you know, you regret having your vasectomy because suddenly you get complications. You didn't get all the information beforehand. So you are one of those people who thought, oh, I'll do a reversal. And then you found out the truth about reversals. And now you're like, oh. And you were one of those people who didn't freeze your sperm because you didn't do enough research. You see how thorough I am with these documents. This is how thorough I am with my details at work and with the information, right? I'm not inclined to rush through it. I did a tremendous amount of research on vasectomies until the research became repetitive. Until I was like, I know all this, I know all this, I know all this. I need new information that I haven't heard before. And once I was certain that I had enough information to make the decision, I then looked into sperm cryopreservation. In other words, sperm freezing, right? And the information there was short and sweet. Yes, you can do it. Yes, it's pretty much long term, and other things, right? So, you know, the decision was made after a tremendous amount of research. But if you're not getting all the information, if you're not, and this is really why also I think it's beneficial to be able to keep updating this information and evolving around it. So people may have heard this information before and said, yeah, but you're just repeating the same thing again and again. Yes, this is true. So now you've heard this information before. It means your information is now becoming complete. The circle of your information is now becoming complete. Your synapses have fully been updated. And you're welcome, right? The expectation is that it will resolve previous problems. It won't resolve previous problems. It will only resolve future problems, right? We're talking about your future here. This is the problem with time travel. The future is hard to see and hard to predict and always in flux. All you can do is try and protect yourself. You can only take action now to protect yourself from future problems, right? You cannot resolve the previous problems, right? And some people feel like they were forced, they were coerced. The ancient one sold me a dream, right? Told me if I got a vasectomy, became a vasectomite, I could be the greatest bachelor in the world. Yes, I did say that. And yes, you can still be, but you're like, I don't know, $30 billion behind. But you start now, you might make it. You might make it. I believe in you. 30 billion, you can make 30 billion, right? I mean, only one or two people have done it, and there's no reason why you cannot be number three, right? But yes, some people feel like they were forced, coerced into having this decision, right? And perhaps you were, but you were also told to freeze your sperm as a failsafe to incompetence. And if you went ahead and got a vasectomy, whether you have kids or not, and you didn't freeze your sperm, you're going to regret that. You're going to regret that. Number three is the cost of a reversal. A vasectomy reversal is very costly and can often fail. Yeah, this is another thing I mentioned. It is expensive to get. This is why I'm not a big fan of reversals. Like reversals, there's really no plus side to it. And again, you might pay all that money and they might do everything right. You might do great in recovery. Take up all your medicine, all the way even after you've healed, just to complete the prescription. Make sure the antibodies are all dead and whatnot. I don't know. I don't even know what antibodies are, but you know what I'm talking about, right? To fix yourself. You could still get it wrong. You could do everything right and still get it wrong. This is what I came out with when I looked into researching reversals. It came to a point where you're going to spend a lot of money, you're still going to get it wrong. You know, you could get it right and get it completely wrong. I was like, man, this doesn't sound like a winning move at all. You know, it sounds like marriage, right? So yeah, right. Cost of a reversal, a vasectomy reversal is costly and can often fail. So it is important to fully consider having a vasectomy prior to undergoing a vasectomy in the first place. Yes, freeze your sperm. Freeze your sperm, dissuade yourself from regret, right? This is really a foolproof plan. And I wouldn't have come out with it. I wouldn't be coming out with these videos if I didn't know it worked, right? Doing the vasectomy by itself is all good and dandy, but if you are a human being who's had regrets, and I've had regrets before, yeah, so I've had many regrets myself, and I didn't want this to be one of them, right? And not because I would regret not having kids, I would regret not having made a sound strategic move. That's really what I would regret. Not so much thinking, oh man, maybe I can still have kids. No, like just having made a sound and unstrategic move, that would bother me a lot, right? That would bother me a lot. So I'm here with the confidence of somebody who has scoured every part of their brain for the advantages, the disadvantages, the upside, and the downside. So when I discovered that this reversal thing is really not happening, I also asked my urologist. I said to him, what's the chances of a reversal? He said, forget about a reversal. He said to me, do you have 100 grand? I said, no. He said, then forget about a reversal. That's the number he hit me with. He went from 1,550, 1,550 to 100 grand in a blink of an eye. I was like, oh, it's like that. So, and then they quoted me $50 for freezing my sperm. And I was like, oh, it's really like that. Yeah, it's like that. It's really like that. They will bankrupt you and still fail at that reversal. Don't do it. I wouldn't do it. No, I mean, you have to be really desperate. Like, if you just got your vasectomy by itself, this is your only option. And this is a problem. You want options. You really gonna need options. In this particular endeavor, options are a must. 4, does not provide protection against STDs. Sadly, does not provide protection against any STDs. It only provides protection against those future babies. Unlike while using condoms, sexually transmitted or intimacy transmitted infections, ITI, can still be transferred between partners during unprotected intimacy after a vasectomy. Yes, you can absolutely get every STI or ITI after a vasectomy. So, yes, condoms are still really the best form, right, of protection against all things intimacy, ITIs, intimacy transmitted infections, or insemination as a whole. But yeah, no, you're not getting away with everything. Now, just take into consideration, for those of you who say, well, maybe it's not worth it then, take into consideration that you could catch an STI and make the person that you caught the STI from pregnant. So if you think, oh, it really doesn't help, and you could do that all in one day. You could catch the STI and make the person who gave you an STI pregnant, and now you have a child who is gonna have all kinds of problems. So, get a vasectomy. Get a vasectomy. You catch a STI. I'm not saying that this is right, but you may be able to get some treatment for it. Now, this is not to encourage you to be reckless. It's really like a final step to say, okay, now things have happened, and let's not pretend. It's time for us to get a solution, a real solution. You can go get that, but can't solve a baby. There's no equation for solving a baby, not even time travel. Number 5, sterility is not immediate. Yes. So you're not sterilized right away, right? So you get a vasectomy, you're not empty right away, as I mentioned. You may still very much have one in the chamber that you need to fire off. Again, I suggest doing this by taking matters into your own hands, because you might think you can rely on a counterpart and find out that you are oh so wrong. You know, you do not want to get a vasectomy, go through all that, and then still get it wrong, right? And you have sperm frozen. Wouldn't that be something? To have your sperm frozen, get a vasectomy, and then get a counterpart inseminated. That would be just a complete failure of our system. Complete failure of the system. Sperm can remain in the vas deferens tube for some months after vasectomy and may take up to 20 firings until the tubes are clear. I need a new word for that if I'm gonna keep talking about this. A follow-up semen analysis will be performed at 3 to 5 months until advised that the semen is clear of sperm. Another form of contraception might be used. Yeah, just like that, right? So, your counterpart might need to continue to be in birth control, or they may stop. It's up to you if you decide to trust that person. Me, I say take matters into your own hands. I say until you are sure you can afford to take matters into your own hands, really you can make up for lost time. And you'll make up for it with vigor and determination, which is really what you want to do. You don't want to go out there and be like me and just be like, you know what? I've sort of spent the last, I don't know how many years, decades of my life, just living the bachelor life. Now that I have a vasectomy, I'd much rather take a nap, right? You don't want to be like that. You want to still have, the eye of the tiger. You want to still have hunger in your veins, right? So, yeah, you could take matters in your own hands, take a small break, do monk mode, get your money up, get yourself in the gym, buy yourself, a decent device with a nice screen so you can see all the things you want to see, and then go ahead and use that upper body strength, right? Now I'm not one to tell a man how to fry his sausages and how to cook his meat. What I will tell you is, you could cook it yourself, or you could take the risk of somebody cooking it for you, and you just don't know what ingredients they're gonna put in there for you. You're just gonna chow down until the worst happens, right? Or you could just, control your diet and then make sure that you get these 20 off, bam bam bam, 20 good ones, right? And then off you go, man. Off you go. You know? Peace of mind. Peace of mind, that's what it's about. Until the doctor tells you it's all good, I would say I'd say hold off, man. Why take the risk? Why take the risk? Why risk trusting these people? You can't trust them. I don't. I don't trust nobody. Pros and cons of vasectomy. To conclude, when undergoing a procedure at Gold Coast Vasectomy Center, that's Gold Coast Vasectomy Center, we can provide assurance that you will receive experienced and professional care in a stress-free environment. By the way, I have not been paid to say Gold Coast Vasectomy Center. That's right, zero money for saying the words Gold Coast Vasectomy Center. I'm saying it because I want you to call them if you're in the Gold Coast and find out if you can get that vasectomy. Right? It's not in my interest to do this, and it's not in their interest to do this. It is in yours, my future vasectomite. But this is the end of the video and the end of a tremendous reading. I always enjoy reading about vasectomies. While I try to add in other things, Quite frankly, I find that the best videos and most watched videos are all about the vasectomies. You know, nobody really wants no self-help information. You know, it's ridiculous. I put out that video about the scandalous vasectomy. Oh, that one went off well. That one went off well. You people love scandal, and there are so many scandals. All these vasectomites have been up to no good. I mean, just one scandal after another. I could spend my whole life going through these scandals, right? And I don't know if people want to do that, but I understand why now these content creators end up doing the same thing. Just reviewing the same video over and over. But I don't think you enjoy reviewing those videos. I, on the other hand, love these stories about these vasectomites. Oh, the scandal. My favorite part is when the counterpart starts blaming themselves. They go seeking advice, paying specialists for all kinds of tests. Oh, ridiculous, right? And I suppose I could understand why people might be interested in that type of scenario. But still, it wouldn't be possible without that vasectomy, you know. And you freeze your sperm, you can play a deeper game. Imagine after all you put her through with the vasectomy, then you tell her, oh, I froze my sperm. And you reignite the hope just to crush it once more. There's really no point in dare I say, just bear with me. Just bear with me. When you're with someone and they have no dreams to shatter. It's like being with an empty vessel, man. There's somebody who got family ambitions. They finally just, got over themselves and want to do, follow God's plan and the benderisms. They believe they're going to grow their humanity by growing into a family, right? And what they'll do to grow that family, they will do anything. Years of determination, right? Years of determination just to be crushed by the weight of the vasectomy. If it wasn't so brilliant, if it wasn't so awesome, so magnificent, it might be sad. It may be, but probably not. Probably not. But these are the benefits of getting a vasectomy and being a vasectomite, and this is what I'm hoping for you too. Really, I'm hoping that you could, whether you've had kids or not, whether you had, marriage or not, you got divorced, whatever your situation is, that's in the past now. I'm talking about your future. What are you going to do? What kind of life are you going to live in the future? You're going to bend that knee again? You're going to take that risk again, get it wrong in your 80s and 90s, or are you going to evolve? Are you going to evolve your strategy? Are you going to evolve your plan? Are you going to freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy? Put yourself beyond the possibility of defeat and then wait. Ever so patiently waiting. Some of these vasectomites, they wait years. 4 years, 5 years, 7 years. Just waiting to say those 4 magic words. I got a vasectomy. Oh, those words will shatter nations, man. Those words will shatter nations. Young men, bachelors, middle-aged men, senior citizens, we all start getting our vasectomy. It will be the greatest movement in human evolutionary history. The greatest movement of all time. It will prove Darwin's theory, that ridiculous theory, that nonsensical theory where they think a fish can turn into a man. Where are all the fishes turning into men? Not a single fish ever turned into a man. But this fish can. Through the power of vasectomy, we can turn you, my fish, into men. All these little fishes can become sharks through the power of the vasectomy. Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. Protect your seed, protect the solitude. Protect that solitude and protect yourself. Self-preservation, self-determination, self-control, liberty, freedom of movement, freedom of choice, freedom of outcome. This is what the Vasectomy Life offers. Peace of mind. I guarantee you peace of mind. Who else can offer you that? And I'm not even yet taking your money. I haven't even asked for not a dime, and I don't want it because I don't need it. Really, really, really. I'd much rather you take your money and spend it on that vasectomy. You'd be much better served. You'd be much better served than giving your money away to strangers on the internet. This is the end of the video, and again, I thank you for your time, for your attention, and I appreciate it, and I always will. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, he who remains the Phantom Menace, the master of the deceptive arts, and the voice of the vasectomites. And I wish you a wonderful, wonderful day.